This is Rummy's Corner. On Saturday night, Manny Pacquiao made his return to the squared circle when he went up against Lucas Matthysse in a fight that was streamed on ESPN's new streaming app, ESPN+. This was Pacquiao's first bout since he lost a close and somewhat controversial decision over a year ago against Jeff Horn. And this was also the first time that Pacquiao entered a prize ring since he parted ways with longtime trainer Freddie Roach, where the two had worked together for 17 years. But despite the long spell of inactivity, and despite switching trainers at an advanced age, Pacquiao looked sensational and proved that he still had a little something left in the tank. Pacquiao ultimately proved to be too fast, too strong, and too smart for Matthysse, as Pac-Man proceeded to drop Lucas several times. The first knockdown occurred in round 3 when Pacquiao clipped Matthysse with a sneaky left uppercut. The second knockdown happened at the end of round 5 when Pacquiao landed a series of rights that were punctuated by a hook. The third and final knockdown came in round 7, compliments of another left uppercut. Referee Kenny Bayless counted Matthysse out, and it was a 7th round knockout for Manny Pacquiao. With the victory, Pacquiao won one of the WBA's minor title trinkets, and this represented Pacquiao's first stoppage victory since he scored a 12th round technical knockout against Miguel Cotto all the way back in November 2009. So where does Pacquiao go from here? I'm not really sure. While Pacquiao proved he could still look good against a slower opponent who lacked head movement, I'm not sure how he would fare against a new generation of elite welterweights. The division currently has 3 undefeated belt holders. The WBC title is vacant. Keith Thurman is still recognized as the WBA champion, and he hasn't fought in over a year. Errol Spence Jr. is the reigning IBF champion, and he scored a recent first-round knockout against Ocampo last time out. And finally, we have WBO champion Terence Crawford, and he recently dominated and outclassed Jeff Horn, the same guy who beat Pacquiao last year. Could Pacquiao conceivably beat one of these undefeated champions? Sure, he could. I would never write off someone like Pacquiao completely. He's a battle-tested warrior and a master of his craft. But even though I wouldn't write him off, I think the odds would be against Pacquiao if he faces any of the current crop of welterweight champions. At this stage in his career, I think Pacquiao might want to steer clear of those matchups. But there are still plenty of guys out there that would make interesting opponents for Pacquiao that are probably safer options as his career winds down. Amir Khan, for instance, is the type of opponent I imagine would be a winnable fight for Pacquiao that can still generate a lot of fan interest. Pacquiao versus Khan is a bout that fans have had an on and off interest in for years. So even though they're both far removed from their best fighting days, a Pacquiao versus Khan match still makes for an interesting prospect. And then maybe someone like Adrian Broner. I kind of view him in the same type of light as Khan in terms of being a potential Pacquiao opponent. What about a rematch with Jeff Horn? A lot of people thought Pacquiao deserved to win his match against Horn. But regardless of that, their first contest was close and competitive. I don't personally have much interest in seeing a Pacquiao-Horn rematch, but I can definitely understand that maybe that might be something Pacquiao wants to pursue. But if Pacquiao did go that route, I still tend to believe that Horn would pose many of the same problems for Pacquiao that he did the last time around. Still, Horn is probably a better option for Pacquiao at this stage than any of the 3 undefeated champions. Then the one guy I think might possibly make the most interesting opponent for Manny Pacquiao is Vasyl Lomachenko. But that all depends on what weight it would happen at. If that fight were to happen at 147, I think Pacquiao probably wins, because he's been campaigning as a welterweight for years, And I don't think Lomachenko would be all that effective at 147. If it happens at 135, I think Lomachenko would thoroughly outclass Pacquiao en route to a stoppage victory. Because despite claims to the contrary, Pacquiao has no business going down to 135 at this point in his career. So 140 is where things become interesting, because I'm not sure if Lomachenko is properly built to handle someone like Pacquiao at 140. But then again, I'm not at all convinced that Pacquiao can make 140 while remaining effective. I'm sure Pacquiao can get down to 140, but at what cost? If a Pacquiao versus Lomachenko fight were to become a reality, I think it would have to be at 140, or else it would have a foregone conclusion one way or another depending if it happened at 135 or 147. But at 140, I do think it's an intriguing matchup, and I'm not really sure who would be at a greater disadvantage. Lomachenko moving up to 140, or Pac coming down to 140? What about a rematch with Floyd Mayweather Jr.? Well, I'm half joking here, and I personally have no interest in seeing this. It would probably still sell extremely well, even if it fell well short of the record-breaking numbers produced in their 2015 contest. Whatever Pacquiao does next, I think his victory over Matthysse at least guarantees him one more fight under a bigger spotlight than Lucas provided. And while I think Pacquiao should steer clear of the new trio of undefeated champions in this current landscape, if Pacquiao did decide to challenge one of those guys, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Pacquiao score an upset against one of them. But I certainly wouldn't bet on it either. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed, and have a great night.